Greetings, Temple Beth Shalom. Rabbi Box here, back with the Torah portion of the week, Parashat Shavua. Still in the book of Deuteronomy, Parashat R'eih, Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26 through chapter 16, verse 17. And so let's begin with the outline. The first section is the choice between blessing and curse. Second section, commencement of Deuteronomy's legal collection, an introduction, demand for centralization of sacrifice in God's chosen place, rules about the consumption of meats and tithes, warnings against worshiping as other nations do, warnings against false prophets or diviners, warnings against illicit mourning practices, dietary laws, tithing regulations, laws of release in the seventh year, the remission of debt, the release of debt servants, laws about the dedication of firstborn male livestock, and laws about the pilgrimage festivals. So it begins, R'ei anochi noten lifnechem hayom baracha uklala. See, this day I set before you blessing and curse. Et habracha asher tishmeu el mitzvot Adonai Elohechem, Asher Anochi Mitzaveh Etchem Hayom. Blessing, if you obey the commandments of your God Adonai that I enjoin upon you this day. V'haklala im lo tishmeu el mitzvot Adonai Elohechem v'sartem min haderech asher Anochi Mitzaveh Etchem Hayom lalechet acharei Elohim acherim Asher lo yadatem, and curse if you do not obey the commandments of your God Adonai, but turn away from the path that I enjoin upon you this day, and follow other gods whom you have not experienced. When God brings us into the land of Canaan, we have a very simple choice to make: to be blessed or to be cursed. To follow God's laws, to follow God as the only one God, or to not follow God's laws and to follow other gods. It may seem that it's an easy choice, but remember, there's lots and lots of stuff going on around. And God has chosen the Israelite nation, not because they're any better than anybody else, but God wants them to be different. God doesn't want us to eat the same things as the people around us eat. God does not want us to worship the same gods or have the same practices of worship that the other nations have. God wants us to be different. These are the laws and rules that you must carefully observe in the land that Adonai, God of your ancestors, is giving you to possess as long as you live on earth. And the rest of this portion is all the things that we have to do. It's a legal collection. The demand for the centralization of sacrifice in God's chosen place. We can only worship God in the place that God has chosen for us to worship God. Nowhere else. All sites that are worshipped, that are being used to worship to other gods, we must destroy and only have the one place, which of course is in the temple eventually in Jerusalem. Do not worship your God like the other gods are worshipped. Do not act as we have acted before, each as we please, but we must act in the way that God wants us to act, so that we are an example of what God wants for the world. We shall take care not to sacrifice our burnt offerings in any place, but only in the one place. There's rules about how we are to eat meat, what parts of the meat of the animal we're to eat, and how we are to make our tithes. And also how we're supposed to provide for those who have less. And there's pretty serious warnings here about what happens if God finds out that we are worshiping as other nations do. Here it is. When your God Adonai has cut down before you the nations that you are about to enter and dispossess, and you have dispossessed them and settled in their land, Beware of being lured into their ways after they have been wiped out before you. Do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did those nations worship their gods? I too will follow those practices. You shall not act thus toward your God, for they perform for their gods every abhorrent act that God, Adonai, detests. They even offer up their sons and daughters in fire to their gods. God says, chapter 13, verse 1, Et kol hadavar asher anochi mitzaveh etchem oto tishmeru la'asot lo tosef alav velo tigra mimenu. Be careful to observe only that which I enjoin upon you, neither add to it nor take away from it. And then there's rules about false prophets or diviners or wizards or witches, warnings against illicit practices of mourning, mourning, how we are supposed to regulate our tithes. And of course we have a recitation once again of many of the kosher rules. Laws about the pilgrimage festivals. And I want to turn to the end of this Torah portion like I often do. 3 times a year, on the Feast of Unleavened Bread, on the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, and on the Feast of Booths, Sukkot, all your males shall appear before your God in the place that God will choose. They shall not appear before God empty-handed, but each with his own gift, according to the blessing that your God Adonai has bestowed upon you. We celebrate, we're thankful, but we also remember to thank God by sacrifices. Which, of course, in today's modern world, those sacrifices are our prayer services and our following the commandments. Shabbat Shalom.